Well, I think it's safe to say that diplomacy is not one of Dwight's strengths. Hello, everyone. Terrence here with Hollywood Already Did It. If you haven't already, go ahead, like, share, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, ring that bell below. Anytime we have something, you will be among the first to know. A lot of new folks here. You guys like those last couple episodes of Tulsa King. And this one, while not as strong as the previous two, as it's doing a lot more of the groundwork for whatever is to come in the final few episodes. We get a few more characters. We start establishing a little bit more of the contention between Waltrip and Dwight, and some of the falling out of Dwight's old family and Pete and Chicky. It picks up right after the last episode, but before we get into sort of the rest of the Dwight thing, we have a scene with Stacy and her partner Doug, ATF agents who are meeting at a diner, and they're meeting their informant, who is Roxy. Who Roxy, if you don't know, is the girlfriend to the number two. She may be a little bit hard to remember because she's that little country girl who was giving Armand a couple of hints about who Black McAdam family is, and was kind of the one who told those bikers that they was pussies. She's an informant. And she's been coming to give them and feeding them information because they're trying to bring down Waltrip. In this, though, she comes with some information like, hey, I'm trying to do this. And she starts bringing up Dwight's name. She's like, hey, there's this Italian dude who's causing problems, causing more friction about this battle for nitrous. And the entire conversation, Stacy keeps trying to take it off of that. Some of it, yeah, to protect her friend a little bit, but more so to protect her own ass. Because she knows that if it gets to the point where it does get Dwight, then they're going to start seeing that Dwight and she may have had some social interactions, if you will, and it is frowned upon for a federal agent to be fraternizing with a known felon. So it's going to come back to bite her, and I think she's close to getting her pension and all that stuff. So she just doesn't. She wants to shut it all down and keep it strictly focused on the Waltrip and what they're actually trying to go after. But Doug is like, nope, we're going to have to give FBI a heads up, and so he does make the call to do so, which brings down a lot of heat on Dwight in this episode. Before he heads back to Tulsa, he has to finish up. He goes to see Tina, and probably the best scene of this episode. He and Tina have a one-on-one. He goes in. He's got some blood still remaining from when he took out Nico, but he flips a sign closed and he goes to see Tina. Now, right before this, there's a little scene that happens where Pete, Chicky, and the rest of the team are kind of having a conversation on what to do next with Dwight. Like, he just came in and killed my driver. We got to do something. Like, we got to get some type of revenge. He's a loose cannon, and we have to do something. And Pete is kind of like, well, hold on. Who knew? Who in this crew knew about that Nico may have had something and touched Tina or done something to Tina? And Chicky was like, I didn't. Nobody knew. Nobody on our crew knew. And Goody, who's grew up with it and knows a little bit more, Dwight has a little bit more interaction with Dwight. Goody's like, hey, if I had seen it or if I was aware, we would have taken it about ourselves. Like, we would have ended it ourselves. And Chicky's like, cool, all that's fine and all, but this guy's being disrespectful. He is now just rude. So you know what? We're going to get some payback. Let's go kill him and his damn daughter. And it's at that point where Pete's like, wait, what did you just say? And he stands up and slaps the shit out of Chicky. Like, hold on. There's a code of conduct that sort of happens within these families, this mafia crew. Pete says, what did his daughter ever do? Like, what did his daughter do? And in fact, truthfully, she was harmed and vengeance was taken out because of that. Why would you do any calls and say any harm to her? And it's at that point where he's like, hey, get your house in order. He's basically saying, if you had your shit together, none of this would have ever happened. If you were half the man that Dwight is, the man who took a bid and did 25 years, there's a code to him. If you were half the person he was, we wouldn't be in this mess. And you wouldn't be talking about flying off and killing somebody's daughter. So what the hell is wrong with you? So Pete pretty much says, I'm shutting that down. So in the scene that Dwight goes to talk to Tina, he's basically saying like, yo, it's done. She's like, wait, I was handling that. And he's like, no, that's cool and all. He's gone. You ain't got to worry about that no more. And she gets quiet. And a part of it is like she's relieved and scared for what may be coming down the line for her. You just killed a made man. What does that mean for me? And um, it is at that point that Dwight says a couple of things that I think are pretty important. One, he says, like, you may think that I did this for myself, but I didn't. I did this for you. I did this because I love you, and there's a bond that from a father to a daughter that you just don't know, you just can't break. And even if I haven't been there to be the father figure, you are still my daughter, and this had to be done. This was a vengeful thing. She's like, I don't. He's like, you don't. She's asking, you don't feel anything. He's like, no, I'm good. Don't feel a thing. It's something that had to be done. He says everything that bad has happened to you happened because I put my faith in this family, and clearly that was wrong. Like, I put my faith in this lie, and I wasn't there to protect you, and now I am, and I am sorry. And she starts kind of worried, like, well, hold on, you just killed a made man. They're going to come after me. He's like, no, they won't. They'll come after me. They're not going to come after you. There's a rule. And for him in his brain, if Pete is running things, he knows that yes, this, and this, and this, they're not going to come after you because you didn't do anything. They're going to come after him. But with Chicky being the person that's sort of more so handling the day-to-day things, it's not as clear if the safety is going to come to him. So as we see as the episode goes along, there are threats that have been calls that are starting getting made to her that are just calling and hanging up and not saying anything, just breathing. It's clear that whatever rule Pete said, the rest of the crew, specifically Chicky, is not following along with that. Dwight makes it back to Tulsa, and he sees that Tyson's car is all banged up and has been impounded. He starts just getting caught up on what happened while he was gone. He learns that, hey, my phone was taken, and it's at that point where Dwight says, wait, your phone, you have all your contacts in there? I'm like, crap, why do you have all that in there? But then that's how they found out Bodie. So he's trying to get into touch with Bodie, but he can't. Bodie's place is boarded up. So all the people that he's trying to reach out to sort of get some information, like what is going on, it's all kind of shut down. He ends up going to meet up with Mitch. And that's when Mitch lets him know what's going on with Bodie, and that Bodie was jammed up by the Black McAdam crew and kind of roughed up a bit. and Dwight and Mitch sort of put a plan in motion to kind of figure out what exactly is happening to Bodie. In that earlier scene with Roxy and Stacy basically tells Roxy, hey, you need to get in front of this, and you need to set up something where Waltrip and Dwight can meet so they can kind of assuage all this situation so this doesn't blow up anymore. And she does. She talks to Armand, says, hey, have your boss talk to my boss. They should meet to sort of put all this to bed. Two things happen before they do their meet. One, Dwight is made aware that the FBI is in on him. He meets Stacy at a bowling rink, and they have a pretty contentious situation where she's reading him the riot act, and she can tell she's pissed because she feels that like the world is sort of closing in. She's this person. They both are these wounded people who have clouds over them, and bad just happens all around them. And I think that's why they sort of found each other. But in that, she's saying, "I'm giving you a warning. Shut it all down. The FBI is coming." He's like, "Hey, look, I'm not doing this stuff anymore anyway, and I'm probably just going to leave and go to Siberia." She's like, "It doesn't matter where you go. Trouble's going to follow you." But they've got your phone tapped. They know about Tina. They know about this. The FBI is in on you. Be careful. And it's at that point where he kind of asks, like, do you want me to stay or go? And she just has this look of like, hey, we're not good for each other. So it feels like in that moment, the Dwight Stacy, as far as the relationship part of it, is sort of tethered, and now she has to be straight up FBI, and he has to be straight up crime man. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes, to see if she, when it comes down to it, if she's there to kind of put him under, so that she doesn't get into trouble. She also, at some point in this episode, extends an olive branch out to him to say, hey, let's set up Waltrip. Let's do this little sneaky kind of thing to kind of get him trapped up. And he's like, no, I don't want any parts of that. I'm not a rat. And she's like, are you serious? You're not going to help me? He's like, no, I'm not. Is this all? And you can tell that whatever relationship they had after he left the bowling alley was even more strained in that moment. She's like, wait, you just say no? And he's like, no, I'm not doing that. They're still no matter what with Dwight. Unlike a lot of the other people in the show, there's a code for him, and he's not flipping on that. Even though it might be to the betterment of him and the people that he says that he cares about. Dwight also calls Goody at night. So basically what happens is Dwight calls Tina to check in on her just to see how she's doing. She's good, but she informs him that, hey, someone called the house and just hung up. And he's like, well, do you need me to put somebody in place there? She's like, no, my husband's here. We're fine. He's okay, cool. If that happens again, just let me know. To that point, he then calls Goody and says, hey, what's going on? And Goody's like, I don't know what you mean. Like, I'm not sure about all this team. He invokes Tina's name without Dwight really doing it. And Dwight's like, okay, what is happening? And it's at that point, Dwight's like, I need you to come out here. And Goody's like, I'll do anything for you. I'm not getting on a plane. You be damned with that, but I'll come. But I have to get this approved from Pete first. So Goody meets with Pete and Chicky as well. And Chicky's like, this could be a trap. But Pete's like, this might be good to just go hear him out. Go hear what he has to say. Go see how this business of operations is going. As long as he's sending me envelopes of money, I don't particularly care. And he's got my ear. I'll at least listen to him. But Pete is more willing to kind of let this play out, where Chicky's like, something's got to be done about this loose cannon. And so Pete gives the approval. It's like, nope, get your ticket, go out there and see how things are going on. The meet between Waltrip and Dwight occurs. It is less than congenial, and it is very undiplomatic on Dwight's half. Dwight goes in telling Mitch, like, hey, yo, we're going to try to calm things down in a situation. And boy, does he rile things up more. Waltrip is very wordy. He goes on this allegory about, hey, a man comes into a kitchen. A man is cooking dinner for his kitchen, and he's got a meal, and this is his meal, and all of a sudden there's somebody else in his kitchen. And he goes on this huge soliloquy, and Dwight's listening. Dwight's like, cool. A couple of things. That's a great story you said. There's a couple of things about your story. One, I can tell by that accent that you have. He calls it, I think he says Lucky Charms. I can tell by that accent you have. You're not from this kitchen. You're not from this kitchen, and I'm not from this kitchen. This kitchen ain't from, neither of us are Native American. So we're both coming in on this land. We're both using this world and this area for our own gain, and we don't have an actual stake in it. Your land is my land is your land. This land is here for you and me, type thing. And secondly, he says that, hey, I'm getting out of the nitrous game anyway. I'm doing it because I don't want to. However, if I did want to do it again, I ain't got to check in with you. There's nothing you can do to make me think that I need to check in with you, and I'm not going to. I'm going to do whatever the hell I want to. He pretty much spits in my man's face. He calls it. He's like, no, I'm not worried about you. I'm going to do whatever I want to do, and there's nothing you can say or do about it. It's at that time Walter was like, hey, all you had to do when you came here, just come on, tell me what you want to do with your business, and give me a taste. That's it. And Dwight's like, I don't have to check in. So kick rocks. And they leave. And Mitch's like, well, that wasn't diplomatic at all. And you can tell that Waltrip feels very slighted and disrespected in that moment. Dwight and Mitch meet back up at the diner, and it's Armand and Tyson. They're kind of having just like a meal and a dinner. And Bodie shows up. There's some scenes earlier where Bodie was on some getting his zen together. And he was interrogated. The FBI came and knocked on his door. He was interrogated, and his office of the weed store was also wiped and ransacked and taken down, and they found the safe. The safe that Dwight told him not to put all his money and all his weed in. That safe. So Bodie shows up to the bar, and Dwight's like, well, where have you been? We've been trying to reach you. And he's like, yo, I've been raided by the FBI. Been interrogated for the last couple of hours. And it's that point, and I knew someone had to, because I'm like, yeah, but wait a minute. Did they flip Bodie? I don't know. So Mitch pats him down after eating some barbecue, but he pats him down, and he's clean. And at that point, Dwight sort of lets Bodie know that, hey, we got you. We're protecting you. Bodie says, like, they took my safe. And at that point, Dwight's like, I told you. The man's like, not now. But once Dwight realizes that Bodhi has not been flipped and is still on the up and up. They go to the back and they bring out 2 duffel bags, which are everything, all the contents of the safe. Because Dwight and Mitch went and got to the safe, and broke into it, and took it all out first because they had a feeling, because of the sort of heads up that Stacy gave, they had a feeling that they were going to get raided, and so they cleaned it out beforehand. And at that point, Bodhi just like tries to make a move to go hug Dwight. He's like, "Don't kiss me. I will fight you." Um, and he feels that this family is sort of, they got his back. And sits down. He's like, "Yeah, come on. Can I eat dinner with you?" He's like, "Yeah, come on in." And so Bodhi is now back in the fold and kind of made whole after some of the treacherous things that he's gone through. An allegory that's been happening throughout this episode is the old colt, the old white horse that's been galloping around the town around Tulsa. And Dwight has made it a regular thing every morning to sort of go see the colt, and because that sort of reminds him of him. It's like that old person that's kind of bucking the system and nobody can tell it what to do. He feels a little bit of a kismet spirit with that. So he goes to the coffee shop, but the colt's not there anymore. Pony's not coming down the road. And at that point, the young coffee barista, Spencer, is there. It's the same one that he's been speaking to before. They actually have pleasantries where they actually speak for the first time and give each other's name. But she's like, "One, I'm not going to be here anymore. This is my last day. I'm going to go just do something." She's kind of going with the flow. But she also gives him the heads up that, hey, the colt is being put down. They're saying he's too rambunctious and too hard to sort of contain at his old age. So they're just going to put him down and then thus make him into glue and other things that they do with the horses in the circle of life that they have. And Dwight's like, "Nah, that ain't gonna work." So he asks Spencer, like, "What are you gonna plan to do?" And he takes her and they go to the stable. Hence the name of the episode is called Stable. They go to the stable and find the horse there, and he pays to get the horse, and Spencer's going to stay with it for a while. And then they take the horse from there to Armand, to the farm that Armand's been working on with the lady that he spoke to about the car earlier. And she agrees to keep it for a week. She's not happy about it, but all right, fine, I'll keep it 1 week. It's all you're going to get. They seem to be having a little bit of a bond. There's a relationship or some energy, some vibes that the two of them are giving off. And Spencer's going to be there to sort of brush the colt's hair and keep the sort of the upkeep going for now. And that's kind of Dwight saying, "Hey, I'm going to keep this horse alive because I feel like it's me and I want to keep that going." Sort of the final things that happen in this episode. Chicky is on his own. Chicky's doing his own thing. Chicky's probably the one who's making the phone call, but Chicky is stalking and hunting Tina's husband, and he attacks him after they drop off the kids. He attacks him, breaks his arm. It sounds like, we can't really see it in the dark too much, but it sounds like something was broken. And a pretty good beat down on him. Probably just in the sign, so that he's taking out his frustration on something. Since he's told he can't attack Tina, he can attack something that's close to Tina to let Tina know that I'm watching you. It's going to be interesting to see how this Pete's not going to harm his own son, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens as this sort of unfolds, because Chicky is off on his own reservation, and once Goody kind of gets an eye of what Dwight is doing, it's going to be interesting to see where they fall and how he's doing the operation. Like, he's not using typical mafia folks to do this. He's got a black man, he's got a stoner, he's got, like, it's all over the place with who he's using on his crew. And so how this relationship kind of comes in is going to be interesting. But Chicky definitely broke the rules that Pete said. While it's not Tina per se, it is adjacent. So he has a little bit of a leeway that he can play there. But Dwight ain't gonna be about that. And then the last thing that happens in this, Waltrip and his number 2 Carson, and Roxy is Carson's girlfriend. They're having a conversation and they're talking about what to do next. And it's at that point where he's like, basically, you need to go there and show them who's the boss around here. Light them up. Roxy sort of tries to come in and chime in a little bit, and it's uncomfortable. Walter's like, "Yo, get your chick in order." But she and Carson sort of hems her up a little bit, like, you need to watch your mouth. Mitch and Dwight are deciding to go into business together in the restaurant. Sort of like, all right, to change up, like, all right, we won't do some of the illegal things we're doing, but let's see if we can put a business here and kind of keep it a little bit more quiet and in-house. While they're doing that, they all of a sudden start getting shot at. Carson's outside with a looks to be a shotgun, and it's just firing off on them in there. Dwight and Mitch come around the back while he's firing in on the restaurant and light him up, and they kill Carson. It's at that point that Mitch says, "You know what? This business agreement you're talking about, I'm gonna do it," and that's the end of the episode. Here's what's interesting. Yes, it can be seen as self-defense. Like, yes, Carson was coming in there to shoot up the place. I don't know if he necessarily was attempting to kill them, so that might be where the leeway comes in, or the problem comes in. But there was an attack being made. But this is another body on Dwight's jacket, and Mitch is already on parole, so that can come back to sort of bite them in the butt. And also, Black McAdam, Waltrip, that group's not going to be happy about losing their number two, their head man. So they're definitely going to have that crew coming in on them. Plus, the FBI is breathing down their neck, and then now this New York presence with Goody and Chicky are going to be coming in on them. And unfortunately, because Dwight can't get back to New York and Tulsa back and forth so quickly, he's going to probably have to make a decision as to whether or not he's protecting his daughter Tina, or he's going to be protecting what he's building in Tulsa. And I imagine it's going to end up being Tina. He's going to have to eventually throw the family that he's been given with feeding them out, because they're doing more harm than they are doing good. But Tina is going to be his major protector. And it seems like, even though she's still angry at him, it seems just like that check-in that Dwight gave on the phone really meant a lot to her. Just the way that she said it, the vocalization of it, felt like, I'm glad you checked in on me. Thank you. So hopefully their relationship starts getting built more. The Stacey Dwight relationship is frayed. It looks like he's going to start moving on with the stable owner. But the Dwight Mitch, the whole crew is starting to kind of grow up a little bit more and grow together, which is good, because I think they're going to, once you take out one of Black McAdam's folks and you kill them, and they're going to find that out, he's eventually going to want to do an eye for an eye. And so one of those members, as close as they all are, one of those members on that squad is going to end up getting taken out. And some would affect me more than others. Like if Armand went, probably wouldn't bother me as much as if Tyson went or if Mitch did. I just like Mitch. He's like my favorite character outside of Dwight. What did you guys think about this episode? I don't think it's as strong as the previous two. I mean, you're not going to be able to end the way that the last episode did, but I think there was a nice scale up for those two episodes. This one's a bit more of a letdown, come down anyway, not a letdown, a come down from the previous two episodes. But it is building a lot of groundwork, and I think that sequence, one, the scene with Tina and Dwight, and the scene with Waltrip and Dwight, are two very strong pieces to this episode, and kind of the strength for the rest of the whole season. That Waltrip one is going to define how we finish off the rest of the year. But what did you guys think about this episode called Stable of Tulsa King? I'll hear your thoughts and comments in the comments below. If you haven't already, you can follow us on Twitter at HollywoodADI. You can hit us up on email at HollywoodAlreadydidit@gmail.com. We also have a podcast with the same name. That's on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, any other place podcasts. We're there. This episode is going to be talking about Avatar 2. So if you want to hear how I feel about that 3-hour film, you should check that out. But like always, I got my ticket. You got yours.